I refused to have a relationship with my mother after she abandoned me for 10 years, then returned and cruelly lied about my paternity out of spite. My parents were young when they dated, and my mom got pregnant with me. They broke up during her pregnancy, and when I was born, she called my dad to the hospital and left me with him. She told him she wasn't interested in parenting, but since he was, he could handle it alone. For the next 10 years, she provided absolutely nothing. No contact, no child support, despite my dad pursuing it legally, nothing at all. My dad raised me completely on his own. When I asked about my mother growing up, my dad tried to stay neutral, and even spoke positively about her sometimes. He didn't want me to hate myself for being half her, and he wanted me to feel confident and secure. Looking back, I appreciate this because I was emotionally fragile as a kid, and knowing how awful she really was probably would have destroyed my self-esteem. A few weeks after I turned 10, my mother suddenly showed up acting like she could just start playing Supermom. She told my dad she wanted to take me and raise me now, and she didn't want to fight about it. She informed me I was going to move in with her, but I fought back and said I wanted to stay with dad because she was a complete stranger to me. When she realized she wasn't getting her way, she dropped a bomb purely out of spite. She told us that dad wasn't my real father anyway, and that I was someone else's biological kid, so I didn't belong with him. She said this both to hurt us and because she thought dad would immediately dump me once he found out. The period before we got DNA results was absolute hell for me. I felt guilty thinking dad had raised me without knowing I might not be his. I was terrified of losing him, and I didn't want to have a different dad. Dad spent countless hours reassuring me that he would be my dad no matter what the results showed, that I was his son regardless of biology, and that he loved me unconditionally. But I was constantly anxious that my mother would find my real father, and they'd both take me away from the only parent I'd ever known. When the DNA test came back, it proved that I was definitely dad's biological child. He paid for the test privately because he wanted me to feel secure, and deep down he believed I was his son, even though my mother's claim made him sick with worry. We still don't know if she actually had doubts about my paternity or if she was just being malicious. After the DNA results proved her wrong, she disappeared again and was clearly furious. She had apparently expected me to just jump into her arms and run away with her, even though she was a stranger, and her behavior showed she would have been a terrible mother. 2.5 months ago, she showed up again. She'd moved to town with her husband and his 2 young children. They made a point of stopping by our house to introduce themselves, explaining that his kid's mother had died and my mother was going to be their new mom. They said we'd all be siblings now and should be one big happy family. I told them I wanted nothing to do with her or any of them. I reminded her that after what she'd done, she had incredible audacity to come back expecting me to want a relationship. She argued that it happened 10 years ago and she'd grown as a person. I told her she could go to hell because she was a spiteful woman unworthy of being called a mother. Dad supported me and told them they needed to leave. Her husband was willing to go because he didn't like our attitude, but she acted offended and tried to linger. She's approached me several times since then, and I've completely ignored her. She keeps saying I should hear her out and give her a chance. Her husband was there once and started attacking me, calling me a monster for my harsh words and saying I wanted his kids to lose 2 mothers before they turned 5. I still ignored them, but his comments bothered me because I wanted to tell them to move away if they didn't like my response, though I know I can't make them leave town. I haven't heard her side of the story, and I don't want to. I don't want a relationship with her ever, but sometimes I wonder if that makes me wrong. I'm now the same age my parents were when I was born, and while I feel too young for kids myself, I would never devastate my child the way she did me. She was 30 when she pulled that paternity stunt, not a teenager making impulsive decisions, but a grown woman who didn't care what her cruelty did to me or my dad. The thing that really gets me is how she abandoned me as a baby, stayed away for a decade, then returned with the most hurtful lie she could think of when I didn't immediately embrace her. She tried to destroy the only parent-child relationship I'd ever known out of pure vindictiveness. Even if she's grown now, that level of calculated cruelty toward a child is unforgivable in my mind. Her new husband's comments about his children losing mothers bothers me because it shows they don't understand the situation at all. I'm not trying to hurt innocent kids, but I also won't pretend their stepmother is someone I could ever respect or have in my life. The fact that she's now caring for other children while having completely abandoned her own biological child feels like another slap in the face. I know some people might say everyone deserves a second chance or that holding grudges only hurts yourself, but there are some things that can't be undone. The psychological damage she caused during those formative years, and especially that moment when she tried to destroy my relationship with my dad, created wounds that I don't think can heal. I'm not interested in her excuses or explanations because nothing could justify what she did to a 10-year-old child.